afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to PBA at noon. If this is your first time joining us, I'm Paul Benwell, and I'm joined by my colleague, Sophie Caesar. Today, we will be chatting with Scott Trebilcock, the CEO of Core Mining. Core has attracted strategic investors, including Macquarie Bank and Eric Sprott, with its 4 100% owned gold projects in California and British Columbia, and its positive preliminary economic assessment on its Imperial Project, and is exploring to grow its gold resource base. Scott's presentation will be followed by a Q&A. Welcome, Scott, and feel free to begin.
All right, thanks, Paul. Thanks for having us. All right, thank you to everybody. I'll spend about 15 minutes talking about Core Mining, and then I think most importantly, love to get to a Q&A and talk more about the company and what specific things about the company and issues people are most interested about. Core Mining was founded in 2017 as a private company with the objective to acquire a portfolio of gold assets and leverage those assets for benefit of shareholders going into what we expect will be a gold bull market. I think the timing of the company was great. We put together the portfolio. We managed to bring in strategic investors, Eric Sprott and Macquarie Bank, to fund the company. And we're now just getting rolling with the exploration and development of the asset base. And we are seeing, the start of a really good gold market here. So super exciting time to be a gold company with some great assets. I will be making some forward-looking statements as I go through this presentation. I encourage all investors and potential investors to thoroughly review our website, our disclosures on SEDAR, and other materials to make sure they fully understand the risk before investing in a small cap company like Core. Okay, let's get to the exciting stuff. So Core is backed by 4.9 million ounces of gold in the ground across 3 projects. We're doing exploration at all 3 of those projects: FG Gold in British Columbia, Long Valley in California, and Imperial in California. Imperial is the most advanced of those assets. That asset has a preliminary economic assessment that Paul mentioned in his intro. We're going to look at some of the great numbers of that assessment in a little bit. But we are also exploring across this portfolio. But 4.9 million ounces in the ground gives us a great asset backing and really is what attracted the interest of Mr. Eric Sprott. On the other hand, the economic potential for just the known mineralization at Imperial, which is 2.2 million of those 4.9 million ounces, is at the Imperial preliminary economic assessment. You can see the great numbers on the slide here. It's got an NPV of 343 million. It's attracted analyst coverage on the company and has helped be a catalyst for the company to be considered more in the realm of its peer companies, where we still face a significant undervaluation. So there is the value opportunity for Core shareholders, in addition to the wealth of exploration opportunities we have to explore a portfolio and keep excitement and news flow coming on the company while we take that preliminary economic assessment for Imperial and push it forward into permitting and development of a mine at that particular site. All of our assets are large trends, 100% owned, large claim blocks, low royalties in safe and stable jurisdictions in Canada and the United States. So I think a great portfolio. We can build a lot of shareholder value going into the good gold market here. We've also got a great team led by James Hines, our chairman and largest shareholder. He's the founder of Core, along with Adrian Rothwell, also on our board. They had the vision to set up this company and pull the assets in 2017 and 18 during really tough times for raising capital. I joined about a year ago after the investment by Macquarie Bank. Built up a management team that includes Jessica, our CFO, and Mark, our COO. Mark's very important because he has California permitting experience due to his running and advancing of the Castle Mountain project, which was part of Newcastle Gold for Richard Wark, which successfully monetized their asset to Equinox about 2 years ago. So Mark then went on to run U.S. operations for Equinox, where he ran the Mesquite mine, which is only about 9 miles from our project, Imperial in California. So the perfect experience to go take our project forward and deliver value to our shareholders. The core share price, this is the share price since raising the money from Macquarie in May of 2019. So just going on about a year of activity inside the company. Until the Eric Sprott investment in August of 2019, we didn't have a lot of work going on the ground. We then ramped that up with the hiring of Mark, getting the exploration people out in the field. We finally started to deliver news flow starting in early 2020. So we're really only 6 months into building this company. We've finally seen a little bit of recognition for the quality of assets we have in the share price, but I think there's still a long way to go given some of the price targets and analyst coverage we have in the company. If you just look at the pure net present value from that PEA, completely discount the exploration, core looks like there's some very good value to deliver to shareholders. Our peer companies, and in this case, I've put our peer group as the gold developers in the United States. So if you were a mid-tier gold company looking for growth, these are the companies you'd have to look to acquire. Midas, Corvus, Integra, Gold Standard, Liberty, they all have projects in Idaho, Nevada, ourselves in California. They all trade at a collective 0.5 times PNAV, with some of them significantly above Core's valuation. We believe our project, if you look at the numbers, stands tall compared to those other projects from a production, from an IRR, from a capital intensity, and we think we should be able to achieve at least the average, if not above average valuation, which means we've got a long way to go here to get this company, I think, trading at valuations, where it's fairly valued. We have recently picked up coverage from Nick Dionic, Cormark, Chris Thompson at PI Financial. They both have buy recommendations at between $1.30 and $2 per share Canadian. We also are on the watch list for Echelon, Laurentian, and Paradigm Capital. Company has about 100 million shares out that are very tightly held, 41% with management and 9 and 15 with our strategic investors. And the rest of the public float, as I said, has been trading a little better over the last coming months, but still has not closed that valuation gap to our peers. So a lot of work to do here on both the assets on the ground and generating news flow and doing events like this to really let people know about Core and present its investment thesis to a wider group of shareholders. So I'll try to keep this as short as possible and stick to our 15-minute target. I'm going to roll through some nice slides on Imperial, talk a little bit about the exploration, and then let's move into some questions because that's where the real excitement is. Now, on the flip side, I like this picture we're looking at the screen right now as sort of the number one reason why Imperial is a good mining project. This is exactly where we're going to build the mine. Flat, low vegetation, no rare or endangered species on the site. It's previously been reviewed for biology and archaeology, so don't expect any surprises. We've also got water on the site. We'll see the well location in a couple seconds. Great place to build a mine. It's not in the viewscape of anybody. Can't see it from a road, can't see it from anyone's house. And that's a really good aspect for having a project in the United States. Again, look at these great numbers for this PEA, 44% IRR, potential for 343 million US in value. That's almost 500 million Canadian that we can deliver just on the back of this PEA alone, let alone all the great exploration I'm going to tell you about in a few seconds. Project is located in Imperial County, California. This county has a long history of mining going back to the railroad, which came through in the, I think the 1840s or 1870s. The railroad workers discovered gold in the desert washes. That eventually led to industrial mining with heap leaching in the 1980s. There was 4 heap leach gold mines in the county in the 80s. One of them is still operating today, the Mesquite mine, which is about 9 miles away. It's been operating consistently since it was built by Goldfields in 1986. So Imperial County has generations of people that have built their families and their livelihood off servicing or working in the mining sector. And I think that gives us great local traction, which is what you need in any mining project to get your social license to operate. On the flip side, if you look at California as a state and a regulatory environment, California has permitted multiple mining operations over the last 5 years. We've seen Soledad Mountain, which was a greenfield project, heap leach gold mine, get constructed. Castle Mountain, which I talked about earlier, that Mark Leduc, our COO, ran before it was sold to Equinox, got permitted a couple of years ago. Then it's under construction. Sutter Gold, which is an underground mine with a tailings facility, was permitted. So you can mine in the right location in California. The system is set up for it. Our project was originally developed by Glamis Gold in the 1990s. They were running the Picacho mine, which is also on our trend, just the other direction from Mesquite, and we're on federal land. So federal land, the Bureau of Land Management, is our primary regulator. They manage mining all across the deserts of the United States, in Nevada and other states. So established permitting process inside the BLM. So I think we've got a good regulator, supportive local community. It's a great recipe for advancing a mine through permitting. Project is simple. It's an open pit heap leach mine, which means there's no tailings facilities. There's no significant processing plant. You simply dig the ore out of the ground, stack it on a heap leach pad, leach your gold, and ship gold bars off site in a very simple process. We've also got water. We've got that flat topography. We've got we got hydro. We've got a road. So you got everything you need, access to local labor, but not too close to be in viewscape. So a lot of great characteristics to have a great mining project. And all of that adds up to a very low capital intensity, one of the lowest capital intensity projects in the market. It also leads to a very reasonable all-in sustaining cash cost, and that includes adhering to the very strict environmental and reclamation standards of California, which we're very proud to fully comply with, including backfilling our open pit. So when we're finished mining at this location, it will be returned to a greenfield state and revegetated, and you'll never know there was a mine in this location. So I think, again, that's a great way to get a mine permitted, because you can stand tall with an NGO and say that you're doing this mine right. Next steps on the project is we're going to be developing what's called the Plan of Operations. That's our key permitting document with the Bureau of Land Management. That'll start the permitting process for that project to become a mine. We're very confident in the PEA, despite being called a PEA. It is a document that we're actually advancing the project to construction from. We'll do a feasibility study in a couple of years, right ahead of getting our permit, because we want to make sure that we time that for banking, but we don't need it to convince our board that the project's worth developing. The rest of the activities are all around exploration, creating upside, and doing some de-risking, but we don't have a lot of technical work to do on the project. So don't have to spend a lot of money going forward other than on the permitting process itself. I'll spend the last couple of minutes I have here before we get into questions, again, talking about the second way Core is delivering value. The first way is that PEA. We got to get out there, de-risk it, tell people about the project, and get that value into Core share price so that we trade close to peers. And that's the numbers I was showing earlier. Also inside of Core, we've got a portfolio of assets. So don't forget, Imperial was only 2.2 million of the 4.9 million ounces in this company. And we can grow those ounces on we think, a very low risk way by stepping out and drilling off some of these resources that we already have in the company. And we've got some great opportunities to grow through exploration. Obviously, the best place to look for a mine is right next to a mine. So our first exploration, highest priority exploration activity, is to try and discover new deposits on our large 28-kilometer trend we control between Mesquite, our Imperial Project, where the PEA is, the red dots in the middle, and the old Picacho mine. This is 3 of the deposits currently discovered in Imperial County. Mesquite has mined over 6 million ounces since it went into production in the 80s. It's been a great employer in Imperial County, and people would love Core to go find another project here so a new generation can work in the mining business for the next 30 years in Imperial County. We've got a great opportunity to do that. We've done geophysics to target drilling, and we're currently moving into drill permitting to go out and test some structural targets undercover to try and find a new project in addition to the Imperial Project, on strike towards the Mesquite mine. So make a new discovery on Imperial, sort of priority number 1. Priority number 2 in the company is at one of the other resources. And in this case, we're going to step up to Central California. You can see it's in Mono County, California, which is due west of Reno, Nevada, just across the Nevada border into California. Here we've got 1.7 million ounces in the ground that was drilled out by Royal Gold in 1992 to 1996. They abandoned the project at low gold prices. Gold was $250 an ounce in 2001. and it made open pit mining for these types of deposits uneconomic in California with the backfill law. So that has created a huge opportunity for Core, because Royal Gold was in the process of drilling out resources when they stopped work on the project. That allows us to go in, step out, drill off additional at-surface oxide resources. We've got some great targets to do that from geophysics and from field work we've done. And we've also got the opportunity to drill underneath that deposit for what we hope will be high-grade feeder structures that comes into this large oxide deposit. So a couple different exploration opportunities here, one to grow resources and one to make a new discovery at depth to, again, wave our arms that we've got a second great development project here inside Core. And finally, the FG Gold Project, sorry, that slide skipped, up here in British Columbia. This project has a large horseshoe-shaped trend that extends for about 20 kilometers. There's a 1 million ounce gold resource on that trend. Core is redrilling components of that resource to better understand the higher grade parts of that resource, because a resource of 0.8 grams is not very attractive in British Columbia, unlike in a desert in California. However, inside our current resource, we've got some great high grade structures. We're redrilling those structures to reinterpret and hopefully increase the grade of that deposit to make it something more attractive and to make new discoveries in the rock group at depth. So we've put out some great drill holes, and you've seen some price action in the stock because of that. Put out 76 meters of 1.1 grams, 32 meters of 3, 10 meters of 3.9 grams. These are great intercepts because they're all quite close to the surface in open pittable kind of depths, 237 meters, 200 meters, and the 76 meters actually right at surface. So we're looking to redefine this project. If we can do that, then we open up the whole project to further exploration. And again, we want to make a third real project inside Core with this drilling. We have 6 more drill holes that were completed in April that are at the lab. So we'd expect another news release here in a couple of weeks. So again, this is about news flow. The drill is just starting returning this week. So then we expect to feed drill results on this project through the summer and hope to have some conclusions on what some of those high grade structures are looking like later in the summer. So taking that all back around into my final slide, Core is active with the drill bit. We're currently either permitting or drilling across all the projects inside the company. We are drilling at FG Gold right now. We expect that drilling to continue for at least another month or so. Then we would like to bridge into drilling one of the California projects where we're currently permitting drilling. And again, we want to have a drill turning inside a Core, adding value to shareholders for the rest of 2020. In addition to that, we're taking that PEA, we're pushing it into the permitting process and moving that forward on the top line there in the middle of this year, which again will hopefully de-risk and move forward with trying to get that $500 million Canadian NAV into Core's share price and deliver that value to shareholders. So development and exploration in one company, backed by Eric Sprott and Macquarie, who've invested twice in the company. We've got lots of options to raise capital, so we're in good shape here. We got just about over $4.5 million in the till after the Macquarie Sprott raise, and I think we're in good shape to fund our drilling and activities, well through 2020. I'll stop there, Paul, and let me turn it over to some questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions. One of them I think you just touched on right now, but let's start with it.
Sure.
Do you have enough money to do all the drilling?
Yeah, good question. So I guess the answer would be, not the drilling we'd like to do, right? So if we're successful getting our drill permits at Imperial and Long Valley, those two sort of middle, you see the line sort of goes through those 2 drill permit boxes on this slide. If we're successful in getting those permits, we'd have enough permitted drill pads to do 20 to 40,000 meters of drilling. Now, we clearly do not have the capital to do that. We do have the capital to go spend another $500,000 at FG Gold, do another 10 holes. We then want to follow that up with another $1 million to $1.5 million at either Long Valley or Imperial, whichever we get permitted first. You can always get delays in permitting. So whatever comes first, we'll put another $1 million in, and that should keep a drill turning well through 2020. That said, at the right valuation point, and if we get enough recognition in the market, we would love to raise some additional capital and go hit some of these exploration projects with a bunch more drilling, because we do have those opportunities.
Great. So that brings us to the next question, actually. Are you using any new technologies to better target areas for drilling?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, Core is definitely not going into sort of cutting edge, new technologies as far as 2020 to go. But don't forget, our Imperial Project and Long Valley projects haven't been worked from an exploration perspective since the 1990s.
Wow.
So in the context of 1990 to today, yes, Core is using modern technology. We did the drill targeting at our Imperial projects and Long Valley projects using ground IP and the new technologies you can use to process those signals. And they've been very successful in showing, because we have intact deposits there, it's not like you're just sort of looking at some, color on a map and saying, oh, that could be something. Because we have intact deposits, you can actually see the geophysical response. So that when you take that and run it on a place where you don't know if there's mineralization, you see the same response, it gives you some better confidence that that's a really good target. So in that way, yes, we've been using modern technologies. We went back and relogged all the drill core. We put everything into proper GIS systems that allows us to integrate environmental data along with site data and geologic data. So yes, we brought the projects in the modern age, and I think that will allow us to drill, target, and de-risk our drilling, where we hope we have a really good chance of success with the drill bit.
Okay. Here's a question referring to your investors. Besides Sprott, do you have any major or mid-tier interested to help you with all of your great properties?
Yeah, great question. So I won't flip back to the slide, but we put up a slide earlier that showed our valuation compared to a peer group of US developers. I didn't put the peer group of exploration companies because there's a whole bunch of them. In the context of developers that have a great project that could be a mine in the United States, we're the only company that does not have a strategic mining partner. So I think that's a very intuitive question, because that is one opportunity the board and the company are exploring. We'd like, if at the right price we get a mining company on board, typically they're willing to, pay good valuations and fund a company to do a lot of work if they like the assets. And that's certainly a path we're pursuing here at Core, because that does stand out as a gap in our cap structure.
Okay. How long before production at each property, if that's the route you're going towards?
Yes, absolutely. So the only project with line of sight to becoming a mine right now is the Imperial current resource, on which we did that preliminary economic assessment. And that's where the sort of valuation numbers and all the numbers I showed earlier in the presentation came from. So that project, we are immediately taking that PEA. We're in the process of creating a document called the Plan of Operations, which is really your application to get a mine permitted on federal land in the United States. So that application is going in sometime in the middle of this year, probably sometime in Q3. That will then kick off the permitting process. And I did sort of, I think I had it in this presentation, sort of flashed over a slide, which is I'll just go back to it, which is the longer term look of Imperial. We'd expect to be 2 years from the submission of that application to get what's called a record of decision. So that'd be mid-2022, which is really your right to use that federal land for mining. Okay. And that's a major step for the project. You'd expect to be very, very well valued by that point. At that point, we'd like to have lined up the feasibility and the other permits we would take to actually go start construction. So we're 3 years from making a construction decision in our estimates at the Imperial Project. Now, Long Valley has enough mineralization now. We're considering doing an economic assessment and looking at the timelines for that project. But if we're building out a mid-tier miner here, we could easily follow that up with, Long Valley becoming the next project in the pipeline. But certainly the nearest term to become a mine is absolutely Imperial. And as we push that forward, we'd love to see that 500 million Canadian come into the market cap of the company.
Great. Are you using, I'm going to butcher this word, magnetolytics for your scoping?
Sorry, say it again.
Yeah, magnetotellurics for your scoping.
Uh, I am not a geologist, so my only answer can be maybe.
Maybe.
Because
Okay. I'll come back around with
apologies for
that one
question.
for you.
Why don't I can send you a follow-up answer to that from our geology team after the call. We can get back to that investor.
Perfect. And another one, burn rate. What's your burn rate currently?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think our G&A is running between salaries, claim payments, listing costs about 1.5 million Canadian. So what's that, 150 kind of
Monthly,
a
yeah.
month? Now, on top of that, everything else is discretionary. So we can choose to explore, we can choose not to explore. Now we're choosing to be aggressive by spending money on exploration. We're going to keep it, like I said, keep a drill turning. And we'd expect that the money we have in the bank today could fund our activities for 2020. But I'd expect at the right point down the track here, we'll either get additional capital from Eric and Macquarie. We'll look for a strategic mining partner. Perhaps we do a more widely distributed raise in the market. But I think it's for now we want to give current shareholders the benefit of the news flow we can generate with the capital we have. But like I said, we'd love to drill 10 or 20,000 meters, not 3 or 5 that we're currently funded for. So capital is certainly as we grow the company, we'll look for additional capital down the track.
So then does that mean that in the California property, is it open to drilling all year round? Or is there a season? Let's say like here, for example, in Quebec, we have a drilling season. Do you guys have a field season or is it open all year round?
It's open all year round from a weather perspective. Now, it does at Imperial. The reason that it's a good place to have a mine. It gets really hot in the summer. It's like 120 Fahrenheit, in the shade. So I think from a just a well-being of the drillers, you're better off to kind of work outside of the peak summer season. That said, you could drill all year round with the proper safety precautions and cooling. They do it in Australia. So and then there's on parts of the property you do have to be conscious of some environmental restraints. Like at Long Valley, we want to avoid this one bird's breeding season and things like that are sensitive with the regulators. But in general, we can drill all year round from a weather perspective at Long Valley and Imperial. And in BC, yeah, there's very much a season. Now, we were able to plow a road out in the late winter at FG Golden Star in April of this year, which is probably about the earliest you could get in. And then by November, the snowpack's going to be too much and you're going to want to stop. So seasonal in BC, not so much in California.
And another one here. Could you please detail the history of your capital raises and dilutions briefly?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So just putting the IPO aside, saying Core was created with 80 million shares after the IPO. Macquarie came in at 25 cents as the initial money in May of last year. We did a 30-cent round with Eric Sprott's first investment in August of last year. And then about 2 months ago, we did a 45-cent round with Eric and Macquarie. And that's all the capital we've ever raised. I think that's a total of $10 million in financing. Okay. So we've been very, very tight with spending that capital. We have a good dialogue with both Eric and Macquarie on talking to them sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly. And Core is and we're 41% shareholders here in management, so it's our money too. And I want to make sure we spend every dollar to the benefit of shareholders. So we've been very, very tight with the spending to date.
Okay, and last question here from our audience, which is a hard one to answer. I know I've been asked it before. Where do you think
that's a good question then?
Where do you think the gold price is heading or going to be by the end of 2020?
I think my best answer to that is higher than today. I can't see a situation where, even forget about COVID. The world economy was on the tail end of some kind of macro cycle here, right? Like this sort of boom was not going to go on forever. So, and that just bodes well for the gold price. Layer onto that the massive amount of money printing that's going on across the world and some of the economic impacts from COVID, and I think there's going to be a rough ride in from various elements of the economy for quite a while. And I think we're at the front end of a pretty good multi-year gold cycle here that's only just getting started. So I certainly think the gold price is going to be higher than today. That's my thesis. Whether it's it looks like some people are pulling. When you get Goldman Sachs coming out say it's going to be 2,000, there's probably some trading going on behind that too. So yeah, that's I think I won't make a call, but certainly higher than it is today. Great.
So I believe that Paul has a question or two for you. So
Great.
Yeah. Scott, you've got 2.6 million warrants outstanding, and it says on your screen an average price of 75 cents. You're trading at 96 cents right now. You're up 7 cents on the day, by the way.
Oh, well,
is there any force?
It's all because of you, Paul.
Is there any force on the warrants? And
yes, there is. If we trade 10 days, I think it's 10 days above $1, there's a call on the warrants. I think that would bring in 1.8 million Canadian.
Okay.
Something along, the numbers are somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
But what's the expiry date on these warrants? Are they close or are they farther out?
No, they're not close. I think there's another year or so to run.
All right, so the people have time to ride them for now. So you might, but it's potential money down the road.
Correct.
Now, you mentioned COVID. Has COVID impacted you anywhere in any of your projects? Has it stopped you, slowed you down, or done anything?
I wouldn't say stopped or slowed down. It certainly has changed. As you know, BC, we were lucky that we were drilling in BC, and BC had declared, exploration an essential service. It's not my choice, but so we were able to keep drilling in BC, and we did so just by changing some of the behaviors in the core shed and places where there was potential social contact. So that was good. We happened to be engineering the PEA at Imperial, not collecting data at the time. So engineers could work remotely, and that didn't impact our PEA. It doesn't impact development of the plan of operations because, again, it is people collaborating on a document. The only place, so to date, no significant impact other than, I'm working in my basement, getting a little tired of
Understood.
Schooling my kids, perhaps. But then down the track, we do need to get out and engage with stakeholders in Imperial County around the time of submitting the plan of operations. You don't want to walk into a community and tell them you're going to build a mine in the community, not have talked to them. So certainly if California doesn't open up for some kind of face-to-face engagement in the coming months, we might have to delay the plan of operations by a little bit, but it's a matter of a couple months. But we're already seeing it. Our chief operating officer was actually in Imperial County this week and was able to see some politicians for the first time face-to-face. So right now it looks like that opening is going to happen, but I'd say our only potential risk is on stakeholder engagement in Imperial County. But
okay. And the final question is the California property, the Imperial, your main focus? Is that where most of your money is going to be going?
No, I think it's literally in our budget and in our own mindset, 50-50.
Okay.
And certainly exploration has the ability to gobble up even more dollars if you're at the right share price and you're having a lot of success, because the path forward at Imperial is very well defined. You can fix your burn rate because you're hiring engagement consultants and, political connectivity people and social people on the ground to engage socially. It's a very predictable, actually quite low cost to permit. It just takes time. Whereas we have optionality and I think the great opportunities on the drill bits to turn up that spend. So I'd say it's at least 50-50 internally from a staff, from a budget perspective, and exploration could even become a greater chunk of the spending.
Well, Scott, this is a great story. We thank you so much for giving the presentation today. And thanks everyone for logging in. Much appreciated as always. And we will keep everybody posted and up to date on what's going on with core mining.
Paul and Sophie, thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good day.
Bye.